Well, I knew this day would come, the day that I would finally watch 1986's Howard the Duck. I had heard that it's bad. I didn't think it could be that bad. Boy, was I wrong. Hey everybody, Sean from Movie Assault here, and it is time once again for another movie review, and this time it is another poll review, which you guys selected a movie for me to review on a Sunday, and I opened myself up for this by making this movie available. One of the choices, it's Howard the Duck from 1986. I knew how bad this movie supposedly was, but like I said, I didn't think it could actually be that bad. I figured I would find something redeeming in this movie. Yeah. If you've seen it, you know. I didn't, and now I do. Howard the Duck tells the tale of Howard T. Duck, who lives on a planet called Duck World, and as he completes a regular day in his life, he sits down in his apartment, and he's suddenly teleported to Earth, specifically Cleveland, Ohio, where he's taken from a planet inhabited by anthropomorphic ducks to Earth, and he tries to fit in, and he meets a woman named Beverly, played by Leah Thompson. He saves her from some street thugs in Cleveland, Ohio, and living in Cleveland, I've never seen thugs that look like this in Cleveland ever. I've also never seen the palm trees that apparently live in Cleveland, or are growing in Cleveland, according to this movie, because it was filmed in San Francisco. But anyway, Howard saves Beverly. Beverly, just because she's a rock singer and maybe has done too many drugs, she invites Howard to live with her, or at least stay with her in her apartment, and they sort of strike up a relationship very quickly and very creepily. And then Beverly is going to try and assist Howard to get back home to Duck World, and he brings in his lab assistant scientist friend, Phil, who's played by Tim Robbins, and their attempts to get Howard home only succeed in bringing something called the Dark Overlord of the Universe to Earth. And of course, Howard must fight the Dark Overlord. As I watched this movie, I couldn't figure out who the hell this movie was made for. The comic book, which I read a few issues of when I was younger and liked and thought it was kind of interesting, and I didn't have any problems getting it at all. The character was really kind of sarcastic and rude, and he was always chomping on a cigar. The cigar makes an appearance in this, but that's about the only resemblance between that character from the comic books and this character, which is sort of a wise-ass observer of human behavior, basically. So the humor is around the duck is based on physical comedy. There's a lot of throwing and tripping and bashing and smashing of furniture and whatnot. But the humor is decidedly adult. I mean, we get to see female duck breasts complete with human-like nipples displayed on screen. Beverly pulls a condom out of Howard's wallet, and then that only leads to discussions or thoughts about what the hell is he supposed to put that on. Don't ever Google duck mating, because you'll freak the fuck out. Yeah, so the humor is way out of league for a PG film, especially one that looks like it's directed towards kids. I can't imagine how many parents were mortified by this movie. And so the only thing you have left is to focus on is the fact that this is an animatronic duck. It's played by 8 people. And all the duck puppets and duck suits are different sizes, so Howard is constantly changing size, and he looks like he gains pounds between scenes. Sometimes he looks really skinny, sometimes he looks really chubby and waddly. The cast is great in terms of name value. Leah Thompson is cute as a button in this movie, and she's the reason I sat through it, I think. Because I really wanted to turn this off. Tim Robbins plays this manic lab assistant Phil. Jeffrey Jones looks like he just walked in from the Ferris Bueller set, and I sort of carried over that whole fact that he's the principal from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, so it was hard to see him as somebody that would be friends with Howard the Duck rather than a villain, even though that sort of is handled a little bit, but that's my fault. You know, it's my projections of the actor into this movie, so he just didn't work for me in this. The direction by William Huyck or Huyck, I don't know how to pronounce his name. He's responsible for American Graffiti, of all things, but he's also responsible for this, so I think that wipes that cinematic achievement off the map. The dialogue in this movie is so manic in its delivery and so hyped up that I can't believe that there weren't copious amounts of cocaine on the set. Also possibly leading to the origin of this movie, I'm not quite sure. George Lucas put his name and money behind this movie, and as a result of its failure, he actually had to sell off part of Lucasfilm's special effects department, their computer animation department, and that resulted in the creation of Pixar. So if we can thank this movie for anything, it is that. It is just an extremely bizarre movie that makes absolutely no sense. It's full of explosions, lasers, duck puns, strange sexual things between Beverly and Howard, and a lot of goofy pop songs that were co-written and performed by Thomas Dolby, who you may know from She Blinded Me with Science. And those are probably the least annoying things about the film, even though they're horribly dated sounding. There's a song at the end of the movie called Howard the Duck that was nominated for a Razzie Award for Worst Original Song, and I actually thought it was kind of fun. It's probably the most fun thing in this movie. This movie was nominated for multiple Razzie Awards, and it won 4 for Worst Visual Effects, Worst New Star, I guess being Howard the Duck, Worst Screenplay, and Worst Picture of the Year, on which it tied with Under the Cherry Moon. I can see why this movie has a cult following, and I totally get it. This movie is so bad that it is worth watching and just analyzing how bad it is. There's very little redeeming stuff in this. Like I said, Leah Thompson looks great in it. You get to see Holly Robinson Pete later on in her first movie role. Tim Robbins is actually kind of funny in the movie, even though his dialogue is ridiculous. I don't know. This whole thing was just a bizarre. I think the history of the making of this movie is probably more interesting than watching the movie, because I read a whole bunch of stuff about how people didn't understand how this movie was greenlit, and I totally get it, because I don't understand how this movie was made, or why, or for whom. But there you go. That's my review of Howard the Duck. I give it a 1 out of 10. I'm very, very hesitant to even score it that high, but like I said, Leah Thompson at least makes this watchable, barely. Yeah, Howard the Duck. Thanks a lot for making me watch this, but that's my fault. Anyway, thanks for making it to the end of the video. I appreciate your attention span. And as always, thank you to my subscribers, old and new, for tagging along on this journey through cinema with me. And I'll see you very shortly with another review. Another poll is up, so you can vote for the next review. Thankfully, I didn't give myself anything as bad as Howard the Duck to watch next time. So maybe we'll get something much, much better. So there you go. Thanks a lot. Take it easy.